Hi, I'm Roxanne Chess, a pediatric occupational therapist, and I'm coming to you during the shelter-in-place for coronavirus pandemic. So first of all, I hope everybody is safe and healthy. And in the meantime, you might be wondering what sorts of fun handwriting activities you can do with your kids while you're at home. You know, everybody has a lot of different homeschooling variations as well as homework. So in the meantime, there's also some fun things you can do to help your children practice their handwriting. So one of the first things I want to recommend is an obstacle course with handwriting built in. So one of the reasons for that I would recommend an obstacle course first is because as an occupational therapist, I want to get your kids up and moving, especially while we're at home. So even if you're in an apartment, you can use couch cushions, pillows, you can use painter's tape to make a thin line to walk on, or chalk on the floor that you'll then vacuum up. So you can use all different things. You could have jumping circles, but instead of buying something to make a jumping circle like you might see in a therapy gym, instead you could just use that painter's tape again, make a star on the floor, and that's what they'll jump to. So during their obstacle course, you might have them on a balance line where they would pick up crayons on their way down the balance line, and then they could do a big jump and land in the cushions, and then that would be their cozy writing spot. So a fun way to make the obstacle course more enjoyable and get more repetitions out of your child would be to make it themed. So for instance, you might have stuffed animals that are around the house. You could collect them, and maybe the child brings one stuffed animal through the obstacle course each time, and they write the first letter of that animal. So if it's a dog, they would write D. If it's a toy cat, they would write a C. You could also make it more themed if your child has areas of particular interest. Let's say they're a little bit older and they really like outer space, and you're working on that really precise letter formation because they might be in first, second, or third grade, and you're still working on that more precision for their handwriting. So take their area of interest and use a puzzle or other toys that you might have at home, Legos that fit that interest, and have them throughout the obstacle course. So they jump and collect some pieces of that astronaut puzzle. They get to build that puzzle at the end of the obstacle course, but are also going to be writing letters that are relative to that theme. So they might write spacesuit or P for Pluto. The second thing that I want to recommend is a code breakers game. So code breakers is just that you either have a clue or the actual word for the item that they're figuring out, and after they write each letter, they've broken the code. So I might hide a cookie inside of a tin, like a cookie tin that you'd have at Christmas time. You could also just have a shoebox and hide a particularly fun toy. This can be stuff from the dollar store. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but you're hiding it in the shoebox, and you might use a clue. Like you could have them figure out that it's an animal that has a horn and runs on 4 legs, so that would be a unicorn. And so when they figure out each clue, you could say it has a long pointy thing on its head. What might that be called? When they figure out horn, they would write the letter H. You could say it's an animal that runs fast on not 1, not 2, not 3 legs. How many legs do you think the animal has? When they come up with the word 4, they would write an F for 4. You could even practice your numbers as well. When they figured out the clue, you can open it up and then they find there's their unicorn toy. Also, you could just have them write the word for all the letters for the word cookie, and then inside the cookie there's your cookie in the tin. Same thing if they want to figure out if you have a toy puppy, a little stuffed animal inside the shoebox, you could just have them write P-U-P-P-Y, and then they say, oh, it's a puppy, and that's what's inside. Additionally, board games are fun. So this is a very, very basic board game that you could make at home. Anyone could make it. And really, it's very simple. It's not hugely competitive, but the way that you get your child to keep writing is that they need to roll the dice. This is a very simple dice. You could also use any cube item that you have at home, and it's just taped. Each letter is taped there. And then each of those letters is one of the squares, one of the spots down the path. So I have a path and the child has a path. So the way to keep them writing their letters is that if you're going to keep going and rolling your turns, and you're going to fill it in. So if I land on E, I'm going to fill in E. If I land on P, I'll find where my P is and fill that one in. The way you win the game is by filling in all of the path. It's not necessarily getting to the bottom first, because if you get letter H, it doesn't matter, all the rest of them aren't filled in. We have to color in the whole path, and I can only do that if I land on the letter and then write it. So you'll have a separate piece of paper available. So if your child is protesting and doesn't want to do their letters, that's fine. You just get to keep rolling. And I have to tell you, with a lot of kids who really don't like doing their letters, once they see me get a couple spaces ahead, all of a sudden they pick up that dice and they want to have 3 turns to catch up with me. And then the last one is a kind of more silly and fun creative one for those kids who might like artistic activities. So it would be hide the letter. So this is one where, for instance, letter T for tree, I would draw the letter T, and then they could draw kind of the curly leaves, the green leaves, on top of the tree trunk. So you're using the letter as part of the artwork. So for a bumblebee, the letter B becomes the wings, and then they draw the bumblebee around it. So you can draw the same picture. You can draw the bee and then have the rest of the bumblebee drawn in and have your child copy it, or you can also have them trace the bee inside of the bumblebee that you've drawn. For koala, you could write a letter K and then draw the koala bear hanging onto the letter K as if it's a tree. For a cat, letter C, you could have the C as half of the cat's face. Or you could just have the child draw a scene and hide the letters in the scene, and then you as the adult have to go find the letters that they've hidden. So that's going to encourage the child to draw lots and lots of letters and just hide them in the art that they've drawn, and you need to pick them out. Thank you.